detrimental impacts of oral infection on the general health and well-being. And by bringing prevention services, cleaning services into the homes, we can get the inflammation out of the seniors.
Right. Now, with a large and growing migrant population, which maybe didn't have services available to them in their home country, there are some real miracles are taking place now, where not just major reconstructions, but saving people's teeth. Isn't that true?
We can do a number of things. I think it's back to prevention as well. In terms of the Promotoras, I know there are Promotora programs here in this region, and they can bring the message right into the community about preventing disease. But yes, we all are intended to keep our teeth for our entire life, and there's such thing as implants.
Well, you know, I think that there's, it's important to realize that there's new technology and new science in both ends, both in the treatment end, implants and other kinds of ways of restoring teeth and saving teeth. But there's also new technology even in preventing dental disease. And a lot of people are not so familiar with some new things, some we call the medical treatment of dental disease or prevention treatments. Like there's a sugar substitute called xylitol. It comes in chewing gum and other kinds of things that actually keeps the bacteria from doing their damage to the teeth. There's other kinds of medications that can help teeth be stronger and not as susceptible to dental disease. So there's a bunch of new things kind of at both ends of the scale, treatment and prevention.
I have to give a plug for fluoride varnish. It's great for older adults. If they're taking medicines that are drying their mouth out and they're much more at risk of getting dental decay, we can paint on very easily fluoride varnish, which does a great job preventing more disease, more infection.
Well, see, there's just some of the tips that go with this. I would imagine that drug interactions can have some effect on the health of your teeth.
Well, certainly a dentist these days who's taking care of an older individual has to be very aware of all of the general health conditions that people might have, the treatments, the kind of medications they're taking, how they might interact with their dental health, and the medications the dentist might want to be using. So it's very important that people have a full picture of the individual now rather than just focusing on the teeth.
Well, I think you'd be to be commended with this special care, because there are so many unique populations now to take care of. Not just seniors, people who don't have English as a first language, or people with severe, with beginning Alzheimer's, for example. How do you put that into practice? Do you identify the special care individuals, or do they come to you?
The families come to us, and they hear about us through a variety of reasons. But we are very much about prevention and celebrating both what the caregivers do, whether they're professional or from the family. There are things like motorized toothbrushes, brushes that brush the tongue side and the cheek side at the same time. So there are ways to make it easier for the individual who may be challenged thinking things through, or their caregivers, on keeping disease away, keeping the infections away.
Well, it's easy for people can just picture this. Just the ability to use dental floss can evaporate in a moment, and you don't have to be a senior. You know, you can have had a fall or a stroke and be in precisely that category. When professionals get together with this huge group of boomers about to descend on us in America, is this a subject of concern and discussion, Doctor? Are we addressing this?
It's becoming much more an area of concern and discussion than it used to be, which is great, because I think that in the past, people who had trouble getting to a dental office or were in a nursing home or had other kinds of disabilities were in a sense forgotten about. And I think people are very cognizant now of these emerging populations that are going to have special challenges in getting access to all kinds of services, but including dental care, and there's a lot more discussion about this kind of thing.
Well, that's good.
We hygienists and dentists rely on our social worker colleagues, our nutritionists, occupational therapists, speech therapists, nurses and physicians. That will be the way that we can bring oral health to all older Americans.
Yeah, of course, the expression, as we were talking earlier, it's not about silos anymore. There have to be open pathways to the many services that seniors need. And it's easy to imagine the process where the dentist or the hygienist may be the very first person to see signs of trouble. Coming, where you can walk out to the outer office and say to the caregiver, we should have a conversation now. I hope that's being encouraged these days.
Right, and what's really important is that the detrimental impact of oral infections on the rest of the health and well-being is being researched and published in medical journals. So,
Could it be, has anybody explored this relationship between mental deterioration and oral health? Is that part of it?
that's part of it, but it's about the inflammation in the body and the impact that it would have on everything from some heart disease to diabetes type 2. I mean, for example, in a nursing home, those seniors that had regular teeth cleanings had much less pneumonia, much less fever, and they did not die of pneumonia
Right.
than those that didn't have regular care.
It's all tied together.
Yes.
No surprise
Yes.
there. Well, it looks like our time is up for today's edition of Aging in LA. Thanks so much to our studio guests in the second half of our program. Dr. Paul Glassman, Associate Dean of Pacific School of Dentistry in San Francisco, and Christine Miller, Director of Community Programs at the Pacific School of Dentistry. And thanks to our guest in the first half of the program, Dr. Roseanne Mulligan, Associate Dean at the USC School of Dentistry. Now, here are some ideas on how to maintain your oral health. Drink fluoridated water and use fluoride toothpaste. Practice good oral hygiene. See your dentist on a regular basis. Avoid tobacco and limit alcohol. Caregivers, you should reinforce the daily oral hygiene. The routine of elders who are unable to perform these activities independently. Sudden changes in taste and smell should not be considered signs of aging, but should be a sign to seek professional care. If medications, for example, produce a dry mouth, ask your doctor if there are other drugs that can be substituted. If dry mouth cannot be avoided, drink plenty of water, chew sugarless gum, and avoid tobacco and alcohol. The Los Angeles Department of Aging produces this program with CityView Channel 35, so that seniors living in Los Angeles and surrounding communities are well informed on the many issues that face them in everyday life. And also to let you know of the many services that the Department of Aging offers our senior citizens. Now, we'd like to hear from you with comments on the program, what you like, what you think can be improved, and ideas for future programs. So please give us a call. The number's right there on your screen, 213-252-4088. That's 213-252-4088. Call us with your comments and ideas. We look forward to hearing from you. I'm Paul Peterson for the Los Angeles Department of Aging, the people here at CityView Channel 35, and all of our guests on Aging in LA. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next time.
CityView Channel 35. Your city, your channel.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the City Council meeting for today, September 11th, 2007. This is the first council meeting that we've had in 3 weeks. We had our 2-week recess and the California League of Cities meetings of last week. So welcome back to everybody, and welcome back to the public and our viewers as well on Channel 35. We meet every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday here in City Council chambers. I'm City Council President Eric Garcetti, joined by my colleagues Dennis Zine, Herb Wesson, Jan Perry, Tom LaBonge, and Tony Cardenas. 6 of us are here. We are waiting 4 more members to constitute a quorum and to begin the meeting. So let me begin by please asking, thank you also to Councilmember Smith for being here. Let me please ask Councilmember Weiss, Rosendahl, Reyes, Parks, Huizar, and Alarcon to join us as soon as possible. Ms. Gruhl is expected a little bit later, and Mr. Zine is excused today, but he's here. So look at that. Thank you, Mr. Zine, for joining us. We are broadcast live on Channel 35 each Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday when we meet here in the John Ferraro Council Chambers. The first Friday of the month, this month we missed it because of the League of Cities, but the first Friday of next month, as always, we will meet in Van Nuys City Council Chambers in our efforts to bring City Council closer to all Angelinos, and soon we'll be doing that in the harbor regularly as well. We are available on Channel 35 through the city's cable system, rebroadcast in the evening, and also a webcast through our city's homepage at www.lacity.org. And a new added feature recently put up there too is that you can access the old City Council meetings, video on demand through our city's homepage as well. Finally, we have a audio service of the council called Council Phone, which allows you to listen into our council meetings and any of our committee meetings. That number is 213-621-CITY. Our agendas are available online at lacity.org or here in person. They are divided into items in which we have already heard public hearings in committee and those in which a public hearing has not yet been held. If you'd like to add your public comments to an item which we have not yet heard public comments on, you can fill a speaker card out in the back and give it to one of our sergeants at arms on either aisle. You can also testify remotely from Van Nuys City Hall. And if you have thoughts on items that are under our jurisdiction but not on the agenda for today, you can also fill out a speaker card for general public comment, and we're happy to hear your thoughts as well. Again, I want to thank the council members who are here on time, and I'd like to make a final quorum call for our colleagues. Thank you to Councilmember Cardenas, LaBonge, Perry, Smith, Wesson, and Zine for being here on time. We are still awaiting Councilmember Alarcon in chambers. We are awaiting Councilmember Huizar in chambers, Councilmember Parks, Councilmember Reyes, Councilmember Rosendahl, and Councilmember Weiss. Ms. Hahn has just joined us as well, so as soon as we have 2 more members, we will have a quorum. Mr. Rosendahl is now with us as well. So 1 more member, and we will begin the meeting. So thank you all for your patience. Councilmember Alarcon, Councilmember Huizar, Councilmember Parks, Councilmember Perry, is here, Councilmember Reyes, and Councilmember Weiss. Mr. Weiss, Mr. Reyes, Mr. Parks, Mr. Huizar, and Mr. Alarcon. Mr. Huizar is here, so we have a quorum. Mr. Clerk, if you'll please call the roll.
Alarcon, Cardenas, Gruhl, Hahn, Huizar, LaBonge, Parks, Perry, Reyes, Rosendahl, Smith, Weiss, Wesson, Zine, Garcetti. 10 members present and a quorum, Mr. President.
First order of business, please.
Approval of the minutes.
Mr. Smith moves and Mr. Rosendahl seconds. If there's no objection, those minutes will be approved. Next order of business.
Commendatory resolutions for approval.
Mr. Huizar moves and Ms. Hahn seconds. Without objection, those 2 will be approved.
Mr. President, this is Tuesday, and there's a flag salute agenda for today's meeting.
Ladies and gentlemen, if I can please ask everybody to rise for our salute to the flag. Today is the 6th anniversary as well of September 11th, and before we begin the Pledge of Allegiance, I would like to have a moment of silence for the 2,750 Americans and residents and visitors to America that perished 6 years ago on this day. So if we could please have a moment of silence before we say the pledge. Mr. Zion, would you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Place your hand over your heart. Ready to begin? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Zion. And ladies and gentlemen, we will be commemorating, as we do each year, the events of September 11th at the Hotchkiss Training Center in Elysian Park, the fire training facility. That will begin today at noon. And we invite members of the public. There is a piece of iron there, steel that came from the World Trade Center. The wreckage that we have set up as part of the memorial here in Los Angeles. Of course, we remember as well that 2 of those planes were headed to Los Angeles and included many Angelinos on them. So with that, Mr. Clerk, next order of business, please.
Mr. President, do you wish to take public comment at this time?
Let's run through the agenda first, and we'll return to public comment, please.
On the regular agenda, items 1 through 8 are street lighting district items, notice for public hearing. There should be 12 members. Do you wish to hold these on the desk?
Yes, please. Let's hold that on the desk. I believe we do have 12 members now with Mr. Weiss. So let's go ahead and, if those, I do not see public cards on those, so we will open and close the hearings. If we can, anybody wishing to call those special from the council? Seeing none, let's go ahead and open the roll on those. Please close the roll and tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Those are approved. Next items, please.
Items 9 through 16 are street lighting district items, notice for public hearing. Council should continue the hearings and ordinances to September 25th.
Okay, we'll open those hearings and continue the hearing and the ordinances to the 25th of this month without objection. Next order of business.
Item 17 is confirmation of an assessment for sewer improvements, notice for public hearing. Council should close the hearing and confirm the assessment.
Okay. We'll close the hearing. There's no speaker cards on that. Anybody wishing to call 17 special? If not, let's go ahead and open the roll on the assessment, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
That is approved. Next item, please.
Item 18 is a street vacation item in Council District 14. Council should close the hearing and instruct the city engineer to proceed.
Okay. There is no card on that from the public, so we will close the public hearing. Anybody wishing to call that special? Seeing none, let's go ahead and open the roll on the instruction, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
That is approved. Next item, please.
Items 19 through 22 are building and safety assessments, notice for public hearing. Council should close the hearings and confirm the liens, and there is a card on item 22.
Okay, we'll call 22 special. Anybody wishing to call 19 through 21 or 23 special? If not, we will go ahead and close the public hearings on those and take those together. Please prepare the roll and tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Those are approved. Next items, please.
Item 23 is an ordinance notice for public hearing.
There are no cards for that, so we will open and close the public comment for that. And if we can open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
23 is approved. Next items, please.
Items 24 through 29 are items for which public hearings have been held. Item 24 is confirmation of a commissioner. Do you wish to hold that on the desk?
Yes, please. Let's hold the commissioner on the desk. Specialist Ms. Hahn.
I'd like to call 27 special, please.
27 for Ms. Hahn.
And 28.
And 28. Okay. Anybody wishing to call 25, 26, or 29 special? Mr. Weezar? 25 on the desk. We'll hold for Mr. Weezar. And 26 and 29. If no takers, we'll go ahead and open the roll on those two. Close the roll and tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
26 and 29 are approved. Next items, please.
Items 30 through 70 are items for which public hearings have not been held. 10 votes are required for consideration. Items 30 and 31 are commission appointments. Do you wish to hold those on the desk?
Yes, please. Let's hold the commissioners on the desk. And that leaves us 32 through 70. Mr. Smith?
Parks 45H.
45H. Okay.
And Mr.
Parks?
President, there are cards on 47, 51, and 70.
And 70, okay. On the remaining items, let me just see if we have some other cards that are coming in from Van Nuys, so I want to check those real quick.
I'm sorry, 32 special, and then note in file 45 DD.
All right.
File 45 DD.
We have 49 from Van Nuys as well, and 48, so we'll call those two special. And yes, Ms. Hahn?
Yeah, I'd like to call 32 special.
32.
And then, could we just note in file 45 DD?
Which one's B and D?
45 DD.
Oh, D.
Double
DD.
D.
Double D, gotcha. 45 DD we will move as a note and file on
Thank
that
you.
one. Any other specials, colleagues? Ms. Perry?
Mr. President, number 60, I just need to
Okay.
make a verbal amendment.
Do you want to give that verbal amendment now?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, that's fine. It needs a verbal amendment to change the date to the event to November the 15th, 2007, from 8:30 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. This is for the General Services Department.
Okay, we'll take that on the consent calendar as amended. Yes, Mr. Reyes?
Just to reconsider item 44.
Okay, 44 is still on the desk right now. You want to call it special? Yep. Okay, we'll call that special for Mr. Reyes, number 44. Any other specials, colleagues?
Mr. President,
Yes.
52, 53, and 54.
Okay, Mr. Weezar, 52 through 54.
Next round.
Any other specials, colleagues? Seeing none, if we can take up the balance, please prepare the roll and tabulate the vote.
12 eyes.
Those are approved. Next items?
That would conclude the items called special. Do you wish
Okay.
to go back to public comment?
Yes, please. Let's go to public comment now. And our first speaker is Zuma Dog. Good morning.
Ah, you caught me off guard. I was still getting ready. Welcome back, everybody. Hello, everybody. City of Los Angeles watching on TV 35. My name's Zuma Dog. I had a great time while everybody was off. I did some tourism around the city. I went to the LAUSD board meeting and the County Board of Supervisors meeting. Had a great time. And I'd like to talk right now about the big problem I'm seeing in the city. I did a lot of research, and if I can please have your attention, because the LA Times has written about it regarding nonprofit abuse. There was an article yesterday, and I have my computer right here. It's regarding operational problems involving nonprofit organization handling of federal grant money. And that's my big concern, especially with affordable housing. There's an affordable housing scheme. You might have read in the LA Times with the CRA. There's a divided CRA. What's happening is regarding affordable housing, they're using nonprofit. Yes, please, if I could, because this is the most important thing in the city. You got homeless everywhere, you got skid row problems, and you're talking this is the biggest problem in the city. Affordable housing through nonprofits. Federal money handed over to nonprofit organizations. They want to do it to restore downtown hotels. And I'm all for affordable housing and these things. However, the money ends up disappearing. There's not enough transparency. And my thoughts are, okay. So again, the privatization of public money through nonprofits. It's happening with LAUSD. You might have seen that the largest charter operator in the state of California at one time was busted for corruption, buying jet skis and all types of inappropriate contracts. Mayor Antonio wants to start a nonprofit for his own schools, for the LAUSD, for his clusters. There's no transparency. Regarding the affordable housing, again, the CRA is a divided board. What's happening is they're tacking on a lot of community benefits packages, and it keeps the smaller, medium developers out of the picture. And then the big developers who go to Lane and these, activist groups that cut the deals first, well, you got people that work on Lane. I think they also sit on the CRA board. So there's a lot of conflicts, and we're not getting a fair shake with the money. And that was my worst public comment ever. I'm going to get warmed up. And
Don't worry. We've all been off for 3 weeks. It's okay. Chuck Tenon is our next speaker. And after Chuck Tenon, we'll go out to Van Nuys for Sharon Brewer.
Good morning, council members. Chuck Tenon, Valley Village. I was a renter. Now I'm a homeowner thanks to the City of Los Angeles, the Housing Department, and the Housing Committee. But I want to bring up a comment that Council Member Alarcon made on a motion. It's a bad deal. You want to bail out a huge growing group of foreclosures because they got their heads over their heads because they got sucked in by agencies that sold them a bill of goods designed to prey on people that need help. And they did this for greed and profit, and misled them with solutions that were not good solutions, and they were not educated. At a recent Herb Weston Housing Committee, they discussed the 1% amortization and the horrific testimonies of people that got screwed. And the blame was everyone. The blame was on the lenders, the real estate agents, the brokers, the city agencies, the housing officials that hurt people that were looking for what they thought was a free ride. Amidst the housing crisis, there were tenants that got displaced. They lost their affordable housing. There was 150 as an example on Magnolia. They had no relocation assistance. Mr. Alicon, did you help them? And the $100 million Affordable Housing Trust Fund that countless developers defaulted. They were going to help with provide low-income housing, and they defaulted. Did you help them? And now you want to bail out homeowners. Why didn't you bail out renters, tenants, affordable housing developers, disabled and seniors? What we really need is qualified educational programs in bringing all the agencies together to help first-time buyers, people, sellers, brokers, and people that need help in getting into home ownership to minimize the loss of homes and educate them. Thank you.
Thank you. Sharon Brewer will be our next speaker in Van Nuys City Hall, and Miriam Fogler will follow her. Good morning.
Good morning. Glad to be back. Sharon Brewer, Encino Neighborhood Council's June 28, 2007 election challenge update. The election was June 28, 2007. The end of the challenge period was July 7, 2007. As of today, September 11, 2007, I have not received any communication from Human Relations Commission or DUN regarding the status of the ENC 9 election challenges. It has been 65 days since the challenges were submitted to HRC. HRC has 30 days to review the challenges plus 2 15-day extensions. Gary De La Rosa from HRC has used up all his time for the challenges. On August 24, 2007, I sent an email to Dunn and Gary De La Rosa asking why I have never been notified about the status of these election challenges. Encino Neighborhood Council has been notified, but I, as someone who has submitted 5 challenges, election challenges, have never been notified in writing, even though I've requested 3 emails to Gary De La Rosa and this one on August 24th to both Dunn and Gary De La Rosa as to why I'm not getting any communication. Encino, once they decide about this election challenge, if they decide they have to do the election again, Encino will have another election in June of next year. I don't understand why it takes this long for the Human Relations Commission to come to a decision about the election challenge, and why someone who has submitted the challenges is not in the loop and is left out, but the neighborhood council is given the information. Also, the problem with these the challenges had to do with procedures not being followed. It entailed Dunn's participation, the IEA, and neighborhood council. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Miriam Fogler is our next speaker, out in Van Nuys as well.
Hello. There's been a big problem here, and the problem is that we're lacking spirituality, because what happened on 9/11, which is today, a lot of people died. You got to think about all these monsters over there, these extremists. We need to beat them with religion. And we need to bring them by showing that we need to come together. Christians, Muslims, Jews, everybody needs to unite and say that we know what's right. Thou shalt not murder. And they're committing the gravest sin. These monsters, Osama does not deserve any of our attention or anything. And somebody should be going out there and getting this, and bringing this monster justice. And I just wanted to say now, the unions, talking about justice, we need to stop the CRA taking the money downtown at the Grand Avenue project. I don't know, but I've heard that Zuma, you said that they're using the the city's a retirement, the lasers. If that's true, you people better get on the ball and stop this kind of risky business, because that's very serious. And the city workers have not heard any notice about any increases or anything about their COLAs. They need to get it now. I'm talking about everybody who works for the city or civilian, the police, the fire, the DWP that got theirs. But anyway, as I was going on to say that I've been reading a lot of stuff going on about the city here, about the buildings going on, the city building, and the way they're doing it. I don't know why you people can't do anything right here at City Hall. You got all the time, you got the resources, so why can't you put your heads together and do things right? Because it's going to affect your children and their children. What you vote on today, 11 ayes, 15 ayes, you better consider what you're doing. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is here in City Hall, Michael Hunt.
Good morning, City Council. Well, we're back here on the record. I see a lot of chit-chatting in the room, and you guys should really be listening to what's coming up. First, I'd like to say it seemed like it was only yesterday we were here trying to make a point to you guys to really to make you guys understand the 4215 in the lawsuit. Well, we've come to our final point, and we really want you guys to understand that civil rights are very important to us as individuals. It just seemed like yesterday that me, the president of the council, and the mayor was walking down carrying a sign talking about violating people's civil rights, and I'm very adamant at that. You know, now's the time to really come to grips with that and really understand what we're really talking about with the 4215 and anybody's civil rights that has been violated in the city of Los Angeles. It's nonsense. It shouldn't be going on. Today is 2007, and we should be way past where we are, but we're still stuck in a rut. But I truly understand the leadership. You know, you guys been misled, we've been misled, everybody is, so it's time to put a stop to all the miscommunication that goes down here in city government, in the city attorney's office. We'll probably be giving you guys a bill that you guys can all go over and look at and come to grips to help us come to terms with the 24 times I've been arrested, and the 3 different psychotherapists, the 3 different medical doctors, and the 3 different attorneys I had to use to get to this point. And I hope it doesn't come to a shock to you guys. So I'm just putting the information out there, and I'm very truthful. Integrity through honesty is always the best policy. Peace and blessings to you guys.
Thank you very much, Mr. Hunt. Our next speaker is Don Garza.
Good morning, City Council members. Where are you at? Where's everybody? What happened? Vacation is over. Good morning, guys. I just come here to say that, just for the record, I want everybody to know in the city of Los Angeles that there is a member of the Los Angeles Community Action Network that threatened my life for speaking my First Amendment rights in support, just exposing the fact that this member was selling pornography next to School on Wheels in downtown Los Angeles, claiming to represent the community and coming to City Hall. It's in court. The guy's in jail right now on $115,000 bail. I'm not going to back down from this, no matter what happens. I'm scared to death. I'm going to do it. Because it's important that people understand that somebody like me that traversed 2 minefields in 1991 on behalf of the Constitution of the United States in Kuwait, who happened to be way out in front with an artillery unit in the middle of nowhere without any support, because we had to support everybody else because they had longer artillery range than we did. Our unit got a Navy unit commendation for that, which is equivalent to an individual getting a Silver Star. I'm not going to back down from this. So be prepared for a battle, for a fight, for me winding up nice to you, because my stress is going to go up. Just to let you know, for the record, this organization has members that I have a voicemail too from one of their paid members that also threatened me after the the 5% density bonus hearing, wanting to meet me out on the streets of Skid Row. So one day I'll play that for you so you can actually hear how a community group that claims to represent my First Amendment rights happens to go out and intimidate them from using them.
Thank you. Next speaker is Yvonne Autry. After that will be Michael Carrion.
Good morning, Los Angeles City Council. First of all, I'm with L.A. Cannon. I'd like to speak on behalf of the young man that was imprisoned. I was not there. However, I can be a witness to his character. I don't know the comments that were made, but I do know that Billy Shaw was not selling or soliciting any pornography. I can speak and I can attest to that, and I would like that to go on the record. However, I'm here to make public comments about the regentrification, and I'd like your attention. I know you're busy, but you're here to listen to the constituents. First of all, it seems as though there's an attack or a war on the poor of this community. I've lived here most of my life, which will be 41 years, and downtown has always availed or made some type of affordable housing available. I feel that the 5% which is being reserved for seniors, disabled, and veterans is well allocated. However, that is not enough because you have some people that are not criminals, not in programs, that are economically challenged, such as myself, that are being phased out. I'm not going to be homeless. And I think this is an attack on the people who are economically challenged. Until we can improve our economic or our financial standing, we should have this low-income or affordable housing that has always been available in this county. I think it's horrible. Like I said, this is a democracy. This is not an aristocracy. It's not an oligarchy. For those of you who do not know what that is, it is not a government buying for the rich. And I'd like to make one other comment about the attacks on the poor and the voiceless in the street. Do you know that the police are harassing innocent people because they are homeless? I wonder, are the police prosecuting or investigating, or are they searching the lofts? Because there are a number of wealthy loft dwellers that also purchase and use drugs. I don't use drugs. I don't even use aspirin. But this has got to be some equanimity here. And I would wager to say that the loft dwellers are not being persecuted at all.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Our next speaker is Michael Carrion. Good morning.
Yes, my name is Michael Carrion. I'm from the 14th District, and I'm here to address the lack of response we have with city officials. I've been working with Mr. Weezar's office for 6 months on issues, and every time I go in there, they call these city entities, but the city entities don't return calls. Excuse me, gentlemen. We're trying to get something said here, but this is one of the reasons why nothing gets done around this horseshoe. Because everybody's conversations are more important until their issues come up. When their issues come up, it's everybody please quiet. Excuse me, security, can you shut everybody up?
Sir, we're listening to you, please.
Our comments are important too, sir. Okay? We don't get anything done around here because city employees feel that they're God. That whatever they got to do is more important. What the elected officials that we elect here to represent us don't have say-sos. They make calls on our behalf, and calls aren't returned. They try to get things done on our behalf, and the city staff does not respond in a timely fashion. You cite people for parking. I understand you young ladies are citing people on Wilshire Boulevard, towing vehicles away. They have 21 days to pay for a ticket. If that ticket is contested, the city takes 90 days to refund their money. I don't understand that. If they're late on that paying that ticket, then their fine doubles. But if the city's late in reimbursing their money, it's, oh wow, we'll get to you when we get to you. We have to tighten up the belt with our not elected officials, with them also, but with the people who work underneath you. When we call, we expect some polite service. We don't expect to be treated like if we're in a third world country. This is the biggest city in the world as far as I'm concerned, because this is my city. We got to be treated with respect around here. Thank you.
Thank you. That'll close our general public comment for today. We have one more. Mr. Weissman, would you like to come forward? Go ahead. Danny Wiseman will be our next speaker. You can just hand that card to one of the sergeants at arms. We'll grab that for me. Thank you.
As I leave. Thank you so
Good
much
morning.
for the courtesy. I'm Dr. Daniel Wiseman, and I'm here representing the Your Neighborhood Council programs. I appreciate thank you, sir, the attention of this board. I have several comments I'd like to make, and then very much I want to introduce somebody who I hope Mr. Cardenas will take to heart about a subject in our area that's of great importance to us. Number one, Mr. Alarcon, I am sorry, and I don't see Ms. Hahn here, or Mr. Huizar is here, very sorry that the ENN meeting was canceled this morning. You know, we really like to come together and talk to you as much as we can, even though you don't have something on the agenda. We would like to see this council consider the circumstances of the budget, and I have discs for each of you discussing the problems of this budget. Our $6.8 billion budget has a $300 million shortfall, as I think most of you know, and the mayor's budget conference is about to come up for our neighborhood councils. Having said that, I hope I have time to introduce the problem and the concern of the Van Nuys community for the old Van Nuys Library. We've been trying to get together with you, Mr. Cardenas, and we do definitely want to get together you very soon, and with other members of this council, and to consider what is being done with the Van Nuys Library. At this moment, it is up for sale on October 1st, and up for sale in association with 2 single-family residences. This is a beautiful, historic building in the center of Van Nuys that we'd like to see used for community purposes. I'd like to have following me, if you will, Mr. President, Ms. Sarah Fisk of the New Symphony Orchestra, New Valley Symphony Orchestra, who's very interested in using this library and bringing some much, much needed culture into the Van Nuys community. I thank you for allowing me to speak, and I hope you'll listen attentively to Ms. Fisk.
Thank you very much. I'm sorry, we have a card just before you, ma'am. Out in Van Nuys, I was informed Donna Perriman is there, and then we'll come back to you, Sarah Fisk. Ms. Perriman, good morning.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Garcetti. Anyway, I told someone at work that the city council was on recess for 2 weeks, and he replied, good, no bad laws can pass at that time. City council, wake up. People are not being fooled. I want to know how you can live with yourself, always raising taxes and coming up with new fees that won't that's what you're known for. But you can make some difference. We need it for better public transportation. How can you tell people to take mass transit if it is inconsistent? I know the 720 Rapid is very inconsistent. I don't know if I should wait on one side for the 20 bus, local bus, to go to Wilshire and Bundy, or the other side for the 720 Rapid to go to Wilshire and Bundy. There is a light in the way, and I have to make up my mind beforehand. But the bus seems to come at differing times, so I can't choose which one. Too many times I have to stand a long line at either stop because there is no benches there. There's almost never any benches for the Rapid bus. I hate when I have to wait 15 to 20 minutes for a bus at rush hour. When the bus arrives, there's 2 running around at the same time. In the afternoon, I have to wait for quite some time. Sometimes I see buses running around 2 or 3 in a row at lunchtime. We don't need to worry about Subway to the Sea. We need consistent buses in Westwood. They cut down on the 70s, and also the 761 is a terrible bus. They cut down the 761 because they're having more 233 local buses. I'm sure people have buses that they have trouble with. Too many people need buses to go to work and school. Many hard-working Caucasians take the bus. The reason I mention whites because the paper says we only take the rail. Yes, people also Hispanics and blacks also take the bus. And we all need a good bus system, whether you be poor, middle class, and upper class even. We need a better bus system. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Our final speaker is Sarah Fish. Have to come forward. Thank you for your patience. Good morning.
Thank you very much, and good morning. And I hope you are all well rested because you were all on vacation last week when I was trying to get a message across to you. And I accept the blame for that. But I want to tell you, you missed an 8-piece brass band, and you missed having an expose of one of our wonderful trios. We had a cellist and a flutist and a violist all ready to play for you and charm you into knowing and believing that we need a cultural center in the Van Nuys area. I beg of you, give this a second thought. I want to read to you the ordinance, which will, by the way, expire, I believe, on the 15th of this month, before the library goes to sale. Please look at the ordinance reading at the very top. It says here that the ordinance is determined that those of you who okayed the ordinance, that you determined that these properties were no longer required for the use of the city, and that the public interest or the necessity for it was not there, and therefore the sale was okay. And therefore you ordered the sale, and therefore you all went in, you approved this ordinance within 1 week, from July 13th to July 20th. Please, somebody didn't do their homework. This is a wonderful, wonderful building. I've seen it. It's beautiful. It has the painted ceilings. It must be preserved. And I can give you our Van Nuys chamber orchestra will be there. We will find the funds to maintain it and retain it. You must retain this building. Please, please reconsider. Do not let this go to sale on October 1st.
Thank you very much, Ms. Fish.
Thank you. Please, I hope you heard me.
We did. Thank you very much. And that'll close our general public comment for today. If we can return to the agenda. Mr. Huizar, you had a request after the commissioners, is that correct?
Yes, Mr. President, I was going to request we could take number 51 out of order, perhaps after we confirm the commissioners or vote on the commissioners, if that's appropriate.
All right. Colleagues, is there any objection? We'll take the commissioners, that's 24, 30, and 31 first, and then after that we'll take up 51. Seeing no objection, that will be the order. If we can take the first commissioner first, number 24, please.
Item 24 is the appointment of Ms. Alice Torres Salinas to the Affordable Housing Commission.
Thank you. Is our nominee here? She can come forward. Is our nominee here for the Affordable Housing Commission? If not, why don't we hold that on the table for the moment and go to the next commissioner?
Item 30 is the reappointment of Ms. Lisa C. to the El Pueblo de Los Angeles Historical Monument Authority.
Ms. C., nice to see you. If you'd like to come all the way to the table, you can come around the rope. And okay, this was waived out of Arts, but Mr. Labange, our chair of Arts, Parks, and Aging Committee. Well, Ms. C., why don't you articulate your interest in continuing to serve for us, and we'll see if any council members have questions.
Well, this will be my third renewal for El Pueblo. I've had a long interest in the city's historic core. My family is from that area originally, back over 100 years. And I'd like to just continue the work that we've been doing down there.
Thank you very much. Mr. Huizar, who represents El Pueblo.
Well, good morning, and I want to thank you and the Commission for the hard work you've been doing. I think we've seen a lot of progress these last year or so in terms of moving forward the Secures project and some of the renovations of the Puestos. I just wanted to ask one quick question before we move on, and that is, in light of what we're doing with the Secures mural, do you think that's on target for us to have that completed? What does the Commission think about reopening this mural project for the public to see in the near future?
This is our #1 project. Everyone is very focused on it. I don't know if it will be on target for the completion date that's out there right now, but I think everyone's working toward it.
And I just wanted to highlight that in terms of, and I'm glad to hear it's a priority, because I think we have a real true treasure there that your commission has done a lot to work on to get to this point, and hopefully we could now, as a city, as a whole, bring this more to life when we get closer to making it happen for everybody. We've changed the designs a little bit, but I think the slight designs we've changed is going to be beneficial for everyone to have more people get to see it, and make it not only a place where you go see the mural, but actually have a learning center where people could go by and learn about Securos, learn about the mural movement that started here and had a significant impact on the history of murals that we see throughout the world today. So thank you for your work there, and I want to thank the Commission that's really put a lot of time into. I was a commissioner myself about, I forget, 10 years ago, but probably 10 years ago. That wasn't that long ago, was it? Okay. And I know that your commission, that I've seen you guys put a lot of extra time in there, so we appreciate all the hard work you've been doing.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Huizar. Anybody else wishing to be heard? If not, I join the chorus of support, and let's make it official for a third time. Please prepare the roll and tabulate the vote.
15 ayes.
Congratulations, and thank you again for your service. Appreciate it. Next, Commissioner, please.
Item 31 is the reappointment of Ms. Mary Wong to the Commission on Disability.
Okay. To come forward. I'd like to recognize the chair of our Arts Parks Committee, Mr. Labange.
Members, another fine person who is serving our city well, a designated reappointment by Mayor Villaraigosa. Mary, thank you for your service. You have the passion, and it takes the passion to all remember about the challenges of disability, because disability could affect us immediately. A tragedy that happened just the other night with a football player in Buffalo, and a very tough collision on the football field. He's left paralyzed, and now his life has to be reconstructed. But the challenge of the disability of all is what our concern is, and the passion that you have, Mary, is very well appreciated. If you'd like to say your comments, and members, I strongly ask for an aye vote.
Thank you. Ms. Perry.
Thank you very much, Mr. President, for allowing me to speak in favor of Ms. Wong, who is a constituent in the 9th Council District. I've known Ms. Wong for a very long time, and not only is she knowledgeable, has a long history of public service, but is a community leader in her own neighborhood for a very long time, and actually was instrumental in designing a park on the block where she lives, a nice, beautiful pocket park, and has been someone who has nurtured and restored the community with a perspective for those who face physical challenges throughout her time served. So I am very pleased that she has been selected, and I'm sure that you will all feel like I do and vote unanimously.
Thank you very much. And Ms. Wong, would you like to add anything to what's been said?
Yes, sir. I would like to express to you as the council president, to our wonderful mayor, and to the other council members for their support, especially Jan Perry and Tom Labange, in making this possible for me to be able to be reinstated for another 5 years, to continue with the work that I do, and to help the disabled like myself and other people that come along that need the help. And I do want to thank each and every one of you for your support and for allowing me to be able to serve the greater Los Angeles area and the disabled community again.
Well, thank you. Thank you for supporting our city in that way. And we're very pleased to be able to vote on your nomination today. So, Madam Clerk, if you'll please prepare the roll and tabulate the vote.
15 ayes.
Congratulations, Commissioner. You're reappointed.
Thank you very much.
Do we have the Commissioner from item 24 here? No? Okay. Okay, we'll continue to hold that on the table. And Mr. Huizar requested number 51 out of order, so I'd like to recognize Mr. Huizar at this time.
Thank you, Mr. President. I wanted to, first of all, thank my colleagues for an action we took back in June 20th, where this council voted to require a supplemental impact report for a project in the northeast Los Angeles area known as Elephant Hill. And it was a tough decision, but I think the council made the right decision to move forward to require this additional environmental review after the council determined that that additional environmental review would be required to safeguard the construction at that site and to bring more information to the local community about what exactly is going on at this development. But council members, to my dismay, and I think to the dismay of all of us here, or we should all be dismayed, on August 8th, the Board of Public Works voted to not only contradict, but to flout the City Council by allowing this developer to move forward, and they issued the B permits that would be required to move forward for the construction of the road leading to this development. Council members, no matter how we voted on June 20th, whether you believed or you didn't believe that additional environmental review would be required, we have before us a situation where a board of this city directly decided to contradict what the City Council acted upon. So I hope you would vote with me and allow us to assert the Section 245 so that this City Council could now review the action taken by this Commission and that we move forward and make the right decision, discuss the merits back at our Plum Committee. I do not take a Section 245 lightly. Whenever one of these items come before Council, I do consider it whether it is an appropriate use of Section 245, but neither do I take lightly when a board or commission of this city decides to contradict an action taken by the City Council. So colleagues, I hope you could vote on behalf of extending the Section 245, and I hope we could send a strong message that after the Council has decided, a council that is the ultimate decision-making body of this city, that action is taken seriously. Thank you very much.
Mr. Reyes is our next speaker. And after Mr. Reyes will be Mr. Smith. Mr. Reyes.
Thank you, Council President. First, I want to thank my colleague for this action. You know, council members, there are times that we've discussed on this floor what has occurred to this institution in the past few years, in the tensions we felt, and at times disregard, if not disrespect, from city department heads, from city staff, and how it is that they respond to this council. We've seen and we've looked at how is it that we are able to assert our roles, not just around budget time, but throughout the year in terms of meeting our priorities as elected officials in our respective districts. This instance is a reflection of that type of disregard for our priorities as council members. But it goes deeper than that. What's happening to this area is reaffirming this notion of a tale of two cities. It's reaffirming the fact that it's okay to deny open space, it's okay to allow sinkholes, it's okay to allow erosion because of the way we have administered our zoning and building and safety and building code policies. So I see Councilman Huizar looking at this process in such a way where we're trying to find a way to correct that. So how we change this path in which we are creating a wider chasm between the have and the have-nots, a wider chasm between those areas that historically have been neglected. It's now time to change those types of policies. So we need to dig deep, we need to stand our ground, and look for those methods and measures that create those corrections. So I want to thank the community who's here, because we're trying to assert ourselves so that we can have open space for our grandchildren, so we can have a watershed that can be healthier, so we can address the water issues. So what's affecting us in the east side and the northeast is eventually going to start having a ripple effect throughout the city and then throughout the region. Now is the time to focus, now is to make the changes, and I hope you can support Councilman Huizar in dealing with this very important issue. I ask you for an aye vote. Thank you very much.
Mr. Smith?
Thank you, Mr. President. I certainly appreciate the passion with Mr. Huizar and Mr. Reyes' comments. I was one of the no votes last time, and I was concerned about the legalities of what we were asking the city to do, that we were putting ourselves in deep jeopardy because the approval process has already gone through. I want to know from the Commission why they did what they did. Is there anyone here that can tell us? Is there someone here from the Commission and or the City Attorney that advised them that can answer that question for me? Are we getting into a legal bind because of this action? I want to make sure we're clean on this before we do that. I understand the desire of the councilman of the district to protect his district. We all share that passion. My concern was on the legality. And so, I don't know, Susan, if you're here on behalf of the City Attorney on this case, or somebody could tell me why the Commission did what they did when the Council said they didn't want to do that, even though I was in the minority on that. Why did the Commission do what they did?
And just,
Susan Fan.
we'll hold the time on that, and I just want to remind folks we do have public speaker cards, and we do need to hold a public hearing after that.
Assistant City Attorney Susan Fan. I can't answer the question about why they did what they did. They concurred with the action of the city engineer. If you're concerned, though, about whether or not we're going to get in a legal bind by what we're doing, you should be aware that a lawsuit has been filed, and if you want to discuss the impacts of what you're doing on that litigation, then I would recommend that we go into closed session. But right now, the only thing that you're being asked to do is to assert the jurisdiction under 245. There is another appeal that's available to you under state law, so this matter would come back to you anyway.
All right.
So you will be hearing it again on the substance.
Thank you very much. Mr. Huizar, I'll be happy to vote with you on the 245 on this provision that I want to hear back then from the Commission and in executive session on the legalities of what we're being asked to do. Cert jurisdiction allows us to have that discussion, and I think that's important to have. So I will support you on that, but I want to hear some explanations when this comes back then.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Cardenas is on the queue and the speaker cards, so Mr. Cardenas, do you want to speak before the public comments? Okay. All right, Mr. Cardenas.
To the City Attorney. Sorry, I hope you didn't go far. On the action, should we take action of 245 in this matter today? That in and of itself, is that causing any potential additional liabilities, just that action in and of itself?
I don't believe so. You are just asserting jurisdiction. You're not actually taking any substantive action under 245. You're just agreeing to take it up, and today is the deadline for that.
And with all due respect, this potential of a 245 by this body is supposedly known to anybody who wants to look into this matter. In other words, as they've gone through this process, be it months, weeks, or years, it could have come to this anyway as part of the process, correct?
Yeah, 245 is there. It's available. The motion was made. There's certainly public notice about this. So what you're doing, I don't believe, is a surprise to anyone.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, we will now turn to public comment. Mr. Huizar, did you want to suggest how long? By law, we have to do 10 minutes of public comment. We have 2 cards on the against side and many on the for side.
By law, we have to do 10 minutes, you said?
Yeah, like 5 and 5 or something like that?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, normally each speaker is allowed 3 minutes, correct? 2 minutes?
Yeah, as a fair hearing matter, Mr. City Attorney, is there any recommendation in terms of, even though there's only 2 cards, how long we should afford that side?
Yeah.
This item actually is just a legislative matter.
Okay, so it's not a fair hearing matter. Okay. So why don't we give 3 minutes to the 2 against, and then we'll do 6 minutes from the other side?
That's fine. Yes,
okay.
Thank you.
All right. From the against side, Paul Feilberg is our first speaker. And then Ben Resnick will be next.
Good morning, President Garcetti and members of the City Council. My name is Paul Feilberg.
I'm president of Mesa Verde Development, who is the managing member of Monterey Hills Investors LLC, who owns Track 35022. I'd hoped to do a more thorough PowerPoint presentation that would really explain the history of this project, which I really think has been grossly misunderstood. Nonetheless, the original EIR covered all of Elephant Hill, or the 110 acres, and also discussed the cumulative impact of the vacant parcels surrounding the site. The conditions of approval prevented export of dirt outside of the EIR study area. The EIR also discussed 85,000 cubic yards of dirt coming off of the site. We placed the dirt on the adjacent lots made up of the Pasadena Villa tract per our condition 14A. The overall area being graded represents 21% of the EIR study area. 87 acres are left undisturbed. We processed a parcel map, which conditioned us to install Pueblo Avenue, and a mitigated negative declaration was issued. Also in that same year, the City Council approved the curved alignment of Pullman Street and reaffirmed the previous adoption of the EIR. All we are trying to do is satisfy the conditions placed on the development so that we can build 25 outstanding single-family homes. In closing, we urge you to not assert jurisdiction over the Board of Public Works action. Thank you.
Ben Resnick is our next speaker.
Good morning, members. Ben Resnick, Jeffrey Mangles, Butler, and Marlboro. I stand before you again on this project on Elephant Hill. Let me just say this, colleagues. I understand the courtesies allowed in a 245 motion all too well, but let me just point out to you what's unusual about this request. First of all, the Board of Public Works took no real action. There's no application. There's nothing pending before them. The only thing they had before them was the Bureau of Engineering is ready to issue the permits because they are ministerial. You've been told that time and again by the Planning Department, Building and Safety, Bureau of Engineering, City Attorney, and now the Board of Public Works concurred that they are ministerial and said, okay. I'm just curious what makes the body think, with all due respect, that you guys know better. Every department has looked at this inside out. And so you're being asked to assert jurisdiction over what was a concurrence, not an action. And if you do assert jurisdiction, you'd be wasting a lot of time because the only thing you can do ultimately is veto their action. And if you veto it, it goes back to the Board of Public Works for their original jurisdiction. They get to decide it again. You cannot change their vote. You cannot have a different result. You cannot impose yourself like you can on a Planning Commission assertion. Only with a Planning Commission action can you assert yourself and change it. So in this case, you'd be spinning everybody's wheels, if you ask me, with all due respect. You'd be back at the Board of Public Works if you veto their action. The city engineer is still the one authorized to issue the permits. He is the only one authorized to issue these permits in the city, not the City Council. And I remind you again that this is a project that has permits that are do it legally. It's not about, at this point in time, redesigning the project. And while I appreciate the comments about open space, really, if the city wants to convert this to open space, you ought to buy the property. You don't get open space by delaying a project. You don't get open space by forever putting a developer into a twisting, situation where every department and your city attorneys have told you the legalities of this case. And so that's why we have to file a lawsuit. And I do suggest you take this in closed session and seriously weigh the implications you're about to embark on. And so with that, I urge that you not take the matter up, or more importantly, take it up in closed session and figure out how you want to resolve this. Thank you.
Thank you. From the for side, we're going to set the clock at a minute so that we can get as many speakers in the 6 minutes. So the first 6, and we'll read everybody's name into the record unless there's a motion to extend public hearing. Eli Yanez is our first speaker, and after that will be Joe Edmiston.
Honorable Council members, my name is Elva Yanez. I'm a resident of El Sereno, an environmental professional. I want to thank first the many community and environmental groups that came out today, the residents who took time off work, and representatives from Assemblymember De Leon's office, Portantino's office, and Senator Gloria Romero. As you know, nothing has changed about this project since your vote. The key facts remain the same. The only difference is that the Bureau of Engineering disregarded your action on this matter and found a loophole large enough to drive a backhoe with building permits through. So here we are again today, now with greater numbers and greater urgency, calling for equal environmental protections under the law for El Sereno. I ask you to approve Councilmember Weezar's motion. Anything else would set a terrible precedent. Anything less would undermine the environmental and public safety protections you previously extended to the working people of El Sereno. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thanks, Joe Edmiston. After that will be Paul Edelman. Good morning.
Mr. President and members, good morning. Joe Edmiston, Executive Director of the Santa Monica Mountains Conservancy. I'm here because this is really extraordinary. You have a board that overturned the council. That's extraordinary to begin with, but it's also pretty shocking. If we had one of the last pieces of open space on the west side, and we had an EIR that was 15 years old and that underestimated the grading by 600%, instead of people in orange t-shirts, you'd have all the West Side lawyers out there in the audience. And don't you think that the Board of Public Works would find a way, just some way of dealing with that if it was on the west side? But no, it's on the east side, and therefore it's ministerial. You can't do anything. You're going to hear from lawyers on the other side, our side, saying, no, you have plenty of jurisdiction on that. I'm just here to say, let's have a little bit of equity. Let's save some open space on the east side.
Paul Edelman.
Paul Edelman, Deputy Director of Natural Resources and Planning for the Santa Monica Mountains Conservancy. This project clearly expanded since the final EIR and the City Council vote in the 90s. Those expansions resulted in significant impacts, and a supplemental EIR is critical. Thank you.
Thank you. Tim Graviel is next. And then Maria Mejia.
Tim Grabiel, an attorney with the Natural Resources Defense Council. City Council heard argument from both sides and made a determination that they could compel supplemental environmental review and that the permits were in fact discretionary. And you did compel supplemental environmental review, and so the Board of Public Works, by issuing this permit, is thumbing their noses at your decision. The reason is because CEQA has to happen before the permit's issued. CEQA is intended to inform the decision maker and to inform the public and provide a process by which the public can participate in the decision making. And so by issuing the permit and then doing a post hoc after the fact environmental review, we get nothing. Pro forma compliance, that's it. I want to thank Councilmember Weezar and I want to thank Councilmember Reyes for their leadership on this matter. Thank you.
Maria Mejia.
Honorable Council members, Maria Mejia, attorney for Mountains Recreation and Conservation Authority. The steps that have been taken subsequent to this council's action on June 20th, 2007 are procedurally infirm. The next step should have been for a supplemental or subsequent EIR to be prepared. That was disregarded. Accordingly, the Board of Public Works action taken and approving and contradicting this honorable council's position is inadequate and infirm and must be ignored. The City Council's position was substantiated by case law and CEQA in particular. For example, the case Day versus City of Glendale requires an EIR, a supplemental EIR, where the actions could be ministerial or discretionary. In closing, I'd like to say again that the Council's position on June 20th was supported by case law and CEQA guidelines. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. And I'd like to read into the record the other folks who came for the for side that were here today. Hugo Garcia, Norma Garcia, Stephanie Taylor, Alana Yanez, Clyde Thomas Williams, Santos Rodriguez, Don Justin Jones, Casey Reagan, Olga Quintero, Ramon Chavez, Sylvia Wallace, John Machado, Christine Canera, or Caneves, sorry, I can't quite read that one, Sandra Hamlat, Nicole Posert, and Michael Carrion. And with that, Mr. Weezar.
Thank you very much. Well, thank you very much to everyone who came and spoke in favor of asserting this Section 245. I appreciate my colleagues' questions. Mr. Smith, in particular, I do think that we should hear this item in closed session, understand the direction that we're going here. And I also want to alert all of us that indeed there was an appeal filed under CEQA by some community members on precisely this issue. I would like to hear both of these items if it so fits with the agenda of our chair of Plum. And if we should exert this Section 245 to hear both that appeal and this Section 245 together so we could sort out the technicalities and get moving on a path that continues to do the right thing for the community. So thank you very much. Colleagues, I ask for an A vote on this item. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Huizar. Anybody else wishing to be heard from the council? If not, let's open our roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
15 ayes.
Under 245 of the city charter, we will now have that jurisdiction asserted, and that is now within the council's prerogative. Next item, please.
Item 22 is called special for cards from the public.
Okay. Item 22. Thank you for your patience, Mr. Holloway. George Holloway is our speaker on item number 22.
Good morning, Council.
And just before you begin, Mr. Holloway, if I can ask folks who are in the audience to, as much as possible, please wait till you're outside the chambers to continue your conversations so that we may afford Mr. Holloway our courtesy. Thank you. Please.
Thank you very much. I am the attorney for the estate of Johnny Joyce, deceased, and that the property at 6047 South 2nd Avenue is part of that estate. I understand that there was some problems with the property because it was not being kept up, but at this particular point in time, the property is in probate. That is the only asset of the probate. According to the probate procedures, we are duty bound to pay any monies that are owed to any government agency, which the Building and Safety Department constitutes. We would ask that, and my client has asked me to ask you not to go forward with this lien at this time. This property is involved in litigation. It is the only asset of this estate, so there is no cash at this point to pay the city. However, as soon as we are able to complete our litigation and bring this property back into the estate, we will be able to pay any monies that are owed to the city. There has been a problem because there have been fraudulent conveyances on the property, and we have to clear the title and quiet the title before we can even go forward with trying to sell the property. So we'd ask you not to go forward with the lien on the property. Thank you.
Mr. Parks?
President, I'd ask that we continue this so that we can have Building and Safety in my office work with the attorney to determine exactly what the status of this issue is and whether the state is going to have sufficient funds. As you know, there's $12,000 in which the city has invested in securing this property, and from looking at the photos, it was well in need of that investment. And so we'd just like to ask for 1 week continuance so we can work together and come to a conclusion.
Thank you, Mr. Parks. Anybody else wishing to be heard on this? If not, can we please prepare the roll?
Mr. President, there was a request to continue that to September 18th.
Okay. If there's no objection, we'll do that without objection. Next order of business, please. So next item.
Item 25 was called special by Councilmember Huizar.
Okay. I believe he is with the folks in the last item, so why don't we hold on? Mr. Reyes, do you want to speak on this? Right?
Thank you, Council President. Colleagues, I would request we continue this for 1 week. There are some questions that need to be answered, and I want to make sure my colleague, Councilman Huizar, has the ability to get his questions addressed, and hopefully he gets the answers we need. So for 1 week, this coming Tuesday, if we can address this issue, we'd appreciate that very much.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else wishing to be heard on that? Is there any objection to continuing for 1 week's time? Seeing none, so ordered. Okay, next item, please.
Item 27, called special by Councilmember Hahn.
Ms. Hahn, item 32.
27,
Thank you,
Mr. President.
I'm sorry,
President.
27.
Yeah.
That's how
I'd
you
like
know.
to, if it's okay with everybody, I think we should take items 27 and 28 together.
Okay, without objection.
Both these items, colleagues, that are before us today are two very important annual reports prepared by our Department of Airports. We continued these items last month to make sure that the pertinent staff from LAWA could be here today available to us to answer our questions. And I think that's important because these are two reports that are very important. I think we as a council need to stay on top of this, and I think we need to hold our department accountable. The LAX specific plan requires the airport staff to prepare each year as a progress report on all mitigation measures related to the master plan. This report includes an update on all mitigation programs, including air quality, soundproofing, traffic. That's item 27. Also, LAWA submits an annual progress report on the implementation of our Community Benefits Agreement, which was a historic agreement between the airport and the Coalition for Economic, Environmental, and Educational Justice. That's item 28 before us. That report focuses on job training, first source hiring programs, contractors' compliance with the living wage, green building goals, the use of minority and women-owned businesses, and soundproofing for area schools. LAWA and the Coalition monitor these activities regularly, and then the airport presents this annual report. My recommendation for us, colleagues, is that we allow LAWA staff to give us these two reports and updates, and then there'll be time for us to ask questions.
Thank you.
Mr. President,
Hold my...
council members, Jim Ritchie, LA World Airports. I'm joined by my colleagues to my right, Intisar Durham, and to my left, Joyce Sloss. We would like to give you an overview of the CBA, the Mitigation Monitoring Reporting Program, and likewise our jobs program and any other questions that you may have.
Good morning, President Garcetti, council members, Intisar Durham, Los Angeles World Airports. As you know, and since council approved the LAX master plan in December of 2004, and the subsequent approval of the community benefits agreement and the LAX settlement, LAWA has and continues to implement hundreds of environmental mitigations, as council member Khan indicated, in the areas of air quality, noise management, transportation, habitat restoration, jobs, etc. What's unique about these mitigations is that they do apply to both construction under the master plan, as it is typically assumed, as well as airport operations. I would love to answer any questions that you may have in any of these areas.
Good morning. Joyce Sloss, Los Angeles World Airports. LAWA received FAA approval of the First Source Hiring Program, which is one of the benefits under one of the economic development benefits under the Community Benefits Agreement. We received approval of the First Source Hiring Program in November 2006. We, at the Business and Job Resource Division, responsible for implementation of that program, began that program in December of 2006. We started the program with one company, and to date, about 9 months later, are working with almost 40 companies on airport to implement the First Source Hiring Program. In addition, we have referrals we have conducted job interviews for about 10 companies specifically, in addition to listing the jobs of the other 40 companies. And we have had about 600 people to date be referred for these positions, and for about 400 jobs. So that is the results that we've had to date.
And we would entertain your questions on any of that.
Thank you. Colleagues, I think this First Source Hiring Program is important to all of us. I mean, we're always trying to understand how our constituents can benefit from jobs, particularly as it relates to some of our proprietary departments. We had issues with the FAA on our First Source hiring. We originally had it under CDD. and we ran into some problems. What allowed us to finally get FAA's approval for the first source hiring? What was the condition that they were looking for?
Well, what they looked at is we looked at jobs that are LAWA classification jobs. And as you know, the LAWA classification jobs are the same classifications or almost the same classification as all city jobs, which pretty much encompass all of the jobs that you would find at the airport. So by working with the FAA and more defining it in terms of LAWA type positions, we were able to finally get approval for the first source hiring program.
How does that interact or coordinate with our current work source centers throughout the city?
Actually, it coordinates very, very well. We work closely with all of the work source centers in the area around the airport, as well as the community-based and faith-based organizations in the area to be able to attract the qualified residents for the various positions that are available at the airport.
What about that job training piece of this? What is the FAA? What are some of the constraints that we have with FAA under the job training piece?
Well, the job training piece at this point is under discussion. We are looking at a number of options as to how we can coordinate LAWA jobs into a job training program, and that's going to take a number of discussions. But what we are doing is there are a number of organizations that are funded either federally or through state funding that provide job training for specific areas. And so through our partnerships with those companies, we are able to provide job training to some of the members some of the residents around the airport.
What about the community meetings, community outreach meetings? How are they going? I mean, it's a pretty interesting coalition, a very active coalition, a coalition that really it likes to hold all of us accountable. How are those meetings ongoing, and how's that still working?
I'm really happy to report that after 2 years of working with them very closely, we've come to what I consider to be an excellent working relationship. We meet regularly. We consult almost on a daily basis on truly all of the issues that affect us both, especially in the areas of jobs and job trainings, as Joyce had indicated, but also we have daily ongoing discussions with Sam on areas of air quality that we are trying to implement at this time and move underway. So we have an excellent working relationship with Sam.
Now, the South Airfield construction project, that was under...
Right.
Now, how did that work? I mean, were there, as you said, part of the mitigation we're doing is not just ongoing, but it's actually during construction projects. How did that work? Did we have a 1-800 number that people called when they thought there was too much dust, or the truck traffic was going through? How did that work?
Definitely. You know, the South Airfield project, as the first project on the master plan, had a tremendous amount of environmental mitigation that was attached to it, a tremendous amount of air quality mitigation, a transportation mitigation. We required that the contractor park his employees off-site and then be shuttled in. We required that a tremendous amount of material that's on-site be recycled. And to give you an example, we had recycled 200,000 cubic yards of old concrete from the old runways that we crushed on-site and we used again as a base for the new runway. You know, I have an interesting milestone for you on that one. That one saved about 1.5 million miles traveled to the landfills alone. Just doing that recycling on site. We had required that all of the construction equipment be retrofitted with what we call emission control devices, just large truck-sized devices that you put on the equipment to control the emissions. We have achieved tremendous amount of emission control on that project when it was said that it could not be done, because when we started the project again about a year ago, the South Airfield project, there was not a single approved emission control device that's available to the contractor. contractor. I am looking at data now where we have dozens of available devices. So it's not only that the work or these mitigations that were applied and will continue to apply to all of our master plan project. It's not that they were successful on our first master plan project, but we really do see for them in use across the region and across California.
You know, let me ask a question about the theme building. I don't know if that was specifically in the master plan. I'm not sure we sort of were preparing for it to start falling in chunks. But that was something we had to obviously go in right away and begin to repair. Does that fit in? Do some of these principles apply to anything we're going to be doing out there, even if we didn't call it out specifically in our agreement?
Absolutely, because it all fits in with our sustainability policy, and I'd love to have all of the time and sit down and tell you all about it that our board just adopted about a month ago. It applies not only master plan projects, and it applies not only building projects, but it applies to everything that the airport does. We have, I'm sure, the theme building, it was an emergency type of a construction, but the contractor is under strict rules to contain
I know, it looks like it's all wrapped up right now.
Exactly, to contain it, dispose of it. Some of it may contain some lead or asbestos because it was built early in the late 50s, I'm happy to say. So it's a lot of these principles do apply to all of our projects, and we hope to ensure.
I think I'm really glad to hear that, because I even wasn't sure about that, and I think that's something we ought to do a better job of communicating to the public. I've flown quite a lot in the last 3 weeks, and I think we might think about doing a better job of talking to the public ongoingly on what all this means. I think it's really smart and innovative, creative. More importantly, though, I think it protects people's quality of life and their health. My last question, and I know Councilmember Rosendahl probably has a lot. What about these poor schools that are within the area? I know that's a big issue, is soundproofing our area's schools. How are we doing on that? What is our timeline? All these kids that went back to school this September, are their schools, are all of them soundproof, or are we at our goal on that?
As you know, the school soundproofing presented really a special challenge for us, because all of the noise impacted schools were addressed as part of an all-time agreement that was signed and approved in the late 70s, early 80s. In order to work around those old agreements, we have worked with the coalition, with the school districts, specifically the Lenox and Inglewood school districts, and there is it's part actually of the reauthorization bill, the FAA reauthorization bill. There is language in there that allows LAWA to fund school soundproofing. So we are waiting.
So we haven't done school one yet?
No.
And how many schools are we going to be allowed to soundproof?
We are actually, as we speak, setting up meetings with FAA in order to go over the school, the definition of what's an impacted school. So I think that's going to be an important
So do we think that will start in the next year? And
the FAA reauthorization is expected to be approved by the end of September, by the end of the month. Again, we hope we really are monitoring it, both us and the school districts, in order to ensure that we have everything in place. And we have been working with them actually to ensure that all of, paperwork and everything is in place once we have the official approval in order to spend.
Thank you. I'll push my button again if I want to.
It's okay. You had 6 minutes to start with if you want to keep going. Okay. Mr. Rosendahl.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. President. Good morning.
Good morning.
It's nice to have good reports and feel positive, and I think Ms. Hahn covered practically everything that needs to be covered, but there are a few questions I want to ask. First is the mitigation plan for transportation issues. We talk about the gridlock that we have, frankly, and the traffic generation report's important. I put a motion in not too long ago to talk about pricing. And frankly, I'm very upset that Orange County never stepped to the plate with El Toro. 20 to 27% of the air traffic comes from Orange County to LAX. I'm working with Orange County about Ontario and Anaheim Ontario link to make Ontario a truly regional airport. But where are we on transportation mitigation issues, and how does your report reflect that?
The transportation mitigation, of course, we know with you, your interest, the Green Line Task Force, we've established that. We've had considerable headway on revitalizing.
Well, let's talk about that right now. I see a good smile on your face, Jim, and I like that. The Green Line, for the viewers watching this, is a light rail that's 1.5 miles from LAX, and it empties into a miniature golf course. I want that to end up connected with the People Mover as part of the master plan of redoing LAX. It's just 1.5 miles. It can cost $200 million where we can be creative and find ways to do it. I'm delighted. Tell us what you just were starting to say about the Green Line.
Yes, you'll recall in the previous master plan, we had addressed the Green Line in a different way with the People Mover. What we have reshaped through multiple meetings with the MTA and ground transportation agencies, we've revitalized that previous route. We've met with the FAA. We've met with the MTA. We're very excited about the positive response that we have had in that previous route. You'll recall we had an intermodal transportation center approved in the previous master plan.
Right.
We'd like to include that in the restudy going forward, move it north up that line in the Manchester Square area. I think you'll see that coming online here with the next EIR that goes out. That route likewise will continue west on 98th behind or in front of the Consolidated Rent-A-Car, and then on up further into Santa Monica.
So you see Aviation and Century as a stop. And this would be a multimodal stop where maybe the mayor's Subway to the Sea could have a hook in, the Expo line to the beach could have a hook in, the Crenshaw line could have a hook in, and frankly, it would give all of our mass transit an opportunity to connect with the airport.
Exactly. We take advantage of that BNSF rail line that goes right through there. So there's some exciting right-of-way issues that we plan to package in the restudy going forward. So we're optimistic with the members and the support of the transportation organizations that we deal with regularly.
Excellent. I'm very happy to hear that. And for my colleagues and for the viewers, there are 5 projects that we have green-lighted that it cost and will be developed about $10 billion. Talk about jobs. Talk about modernization of LAX. We're moving on it. The first is the Tom Bradley Terminal. Where are we with the Bradley Terminal right now and getting that restructured and greening it?
Well, it ties to Councilwoman Hahn's issues about the CBA, the MMRP, some of the issues about sustainability, about mitigation, electrification of gates are trends and themes that you will see we carry that maybe had their genesis in the CBA. We've carried sustainability into the Bradley Terminal. You'll see that we'll carry that on into the midfield development. The Bradley Terminal, as you know, we started last, where are we now, in early of this year. It's a 38-month program. We're well into it. I had an exciting report from Councilman Zine that went through, told me he went in and out of the Bradley Terminal in 10 minutes, both on arrivals and departure. We're segmenting, breaking that terminal up into repairable parcels. We've got the inline baggage in its formative stage. We've got the interim baggage handling systems built. As you know, the Airbus terminal on the north end of that terminal will come online at the end of the year. So incrementally, piece by piece, in about 2.5 years, we'll have a brand-new terminal, a sustainable terminal, all those things that you stand for.
And the Midfield Terminal, which we, the council, unanimously approved and moved forward with it about a month ago, talks about the year 2012 being able to open up the Midfield Terminal. I flew in the other day from Alaskan Airlines from Mexico, and we had to go to one of these remote gates, get in a bus, and go over to the terminal. But when we get that Midfield Terminal in place, that will assist us dramatically in international flights. Talk about the Midfield Terminal real quickly. Where are we right now?
Midfield Terminal is, as you point out, very exciting. We expect to release RFPs for design on that Midfield Terminal, if not next week, the week after. We're organizing, identifying the requirements of tenants that we have to move, what other space can be utilized aboard the airport to move those tenants so that we make them whole, as they're not adversely impacted as we add those 9 Airbus gates. So in the next 2 months, there's going to be a flurry of excitement as we select consultants, bring them on board. We'll have a program manager to oversee this. Very hectic, fast-paced. We've got to be there in 2012, and we will be.
And I love that because you just mentioned 3 projects: Midfield Terminal, the Bradley refurbishing and development of it, and the Green Line. There's now the People Mover and the Consolidated Rental. Explain those 2 real quickly.
Well, the Consolidated Rent-A-Car, we're out for design. We've in the interview process to bring that design team on board for the Consolidated Rent-A-Car. We know the location. You're absolutely right. It's right along the train track, if you will, of the Green Line. It'll be a key component as you bring not only the Green Line, but a People Mover into the central terminal area to provide more convenience to the traveling public. So it's an exciting package.
And I look forward to it, assuming the people keep me in office for a few years. There's a 10-year window here where I want to see a lot of this accomplished, and we got a good sense of comfort we can do $10 billion worth of projects, 5 Green Line projects within the next 10 years. Yes or no?
Yes, we've got a lot of work, and I would add that not only to touch on what Councilman Hahn raised, the issue about the theme building, we do have a lot of infrastructure that is old that will be competing for our scarce financial resources. We have Terminal 3 that needs work. We have a central utility plant. Terminal 1 is not ideal for Southwest. So what you will see is not only a modernization in the sense of the master plan, you will see also infrastructure repairs and modernizations that will complement both.
Last question has to do with jobs. If we're spending $10 billion and we're remodeling that airport and we're bringing in the 21st century, the gateway to America, all these good stuff, it's the job component for the kids at risk, to pull the gang issue, as Ms. Hahn has so articulated, about a job or education is the way out of the situation. How are we tying it into our mandate to get rid of gangs?
Actually, we are tying the jobs program into all of the programs. In fact, when you mentioned the Tibbet project, we worked very closely with Clark McCarthy to have a job fair. We worked to identify the jobs that are available, the construction jobs, high-paying construction jobs. We had all the companies on site, and we are following up to find out how many people have actually received positions as a result of that fair. We are planning to do all of the same thing with all of the companies that come on board with the future projects.
And Mr. Reyes is nodding his head because I know he intends to speak, because it is a key component in our strategy of giving kids opportunities going forward. Thank you, Mr. President. Appreciate the comments, and congratulations for the fine work you're doing. We appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Reyes is our next speaker.
Thank you, Council President. I just want to echo Councilmember Hahn and Councilmember Rosendahl and their focus on this job issue. But I wanted to drill down a little bit more in terms of how we're getting ready. If we were to work backwards, and let's say the first major project is about to start construction, or a major job generating activity is about to begin, let's say next week. Working backwards, how would each council member in this horseshoe be able to refer and or identify youngsters that we're working with, where we can say with confidence that if you went through this process, you'll be called to work next week? Do we have that type of alignment in terms of our dialogue and coordination and communication within the city family?
I believe at this point we are working to set up such an infrastructure to ensure that it happens more smoothly. But what we are doing is we're working with the construction companies to ensure that we identify what those positions are. We are working with the work source centers, with the community-based organizations, so to the extent that people are referred to those organizations who then know about all of the positions that we have available, they will get the referral that way. We're looking at multiple ways of providing information, but certainly through our work source centers, with our community and faith-based organizations, we are getting the word out about the positions available.
And I think another comment that is important to make, and it's a signal that this horseshoe is made to those firms that work at the airport. We're having firms that stand up and volunteer and seek Joyce out for these opportunities so that they can fulfill every opportunity for the impacted areas particularly.
So would it be safe to assume, and I hate to assume, but since we don't have a crystal ball, my assumption is that one day we'll get a signal, a message, a note, an indication that it's now time for the council to roll up their sleeves, the council members, and start bringing people forward to be part of this list so they could have access to these jobs. Would that be safe to say? Can I venture to ask for a commitment so that does happen?
Oh, I think it's a very reasonable thing to expect that we are looking at our communication plan, how we're going to communicate all of this information to the council members, to the public, to make sure that the people who are qualified can pass all of our security requirements are able to take advantage of those opportunities. So yes, part of what we're doing and part of what is under development is how we're going to communicate this information.
I hope you don't think I'm setting you up, but I am trying to lead to another point.
Okay.
That's important what you just shared with me. Now, we know many of our youngsters, because 50% of our youth are dropping out of high school. The skill set, the ability to prepare and qualify for these positions, do you think we could build into that process a way in which we can prepare them? I mean, for some folks, it's intimidating just to fill out an application. For some folks, they haven't really been out of their neighborhoods for all the reasons that we know. So could we even think about allowing, let's say, the council office to help prepare some of our youth, youngsters or people, so they can qualify for these jobs?
Right. I think through job training, one of the components that we're looking at, and again, it's under development in terms of our community benefits agreement, but we are looking at job training, and one of the large components of that job training program does include construction, pre-apprenticeship construction training, and in that pre-apprenticeship construction training, the participants do learn all the basic skill sets that they need to be able to go on to the next level to be able to enter the professions. And so, yes, it would include filling out applications, and it would include how to write a resume and all of the other requirements that they would have in terms of being prepared for a construction position.
How soon do you think we could be informed as to those opportunities so that we're not rushing last minute and cramming people in or trying to fill applications and creating chaos? Given that at least now I think we have some luxury of time before that begins to basically wind up. Is there a time frame? Do we have an action plan where we can at least start orchestrating our own resources, our own efforts to make sure we have these youngsters in place so that we can get pre-qualified and or orientated so that then when the jobs do come along, we have that feeder system?
I think a couple of things. One is that's something that's under development right now in my office. It's something that we're working on, and it's part of a plan that we are developing. But I think it would also be helpful if there was somebody in each of the offices with whom we could work on a regular basis so that we could provide that information. So if we have a liaison or a contact person in your offices, then we know who specifically to go to on this issue to be able to provide updates, to be able to talk about our work source, or all of our partners with whom we're working.
So who would be the most appropriate person? Would that be you or?
For anything jobs related, yes.
Okay, so we'll be identifying someone in our office to make sure we have that communication.
Correct.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Ms. Hahn?
Thank you. Well, I know we're just going to receive and file both of these reports, but I think it's always important that we have these regular reports, that we stay on top of it and we hold you accountable to these efforts of mitigation, job training, and Councilmember Reyes, you're exactly right. And I think this really speaks to everything we're trying to do in terms of getting our young people in the city of Los Angeles ready, prepared to be hired and get some of these really good jobs. I think the work source centers around the city, to me, seem like the best funnel for our individual districts. We all have them in our districts, but let's work on coming up with a very concrete plan because this is what I think really matters to us in terms of our long-term strategy in the city for ending gang violence and not giving our young people opportunities. I really want to applaud the staff. When you think about modernizing LAX, and all that means, I mean, that is huge. I think we've been a little slow on the uptake to modernize our airport. I think we've heard how that affects tourism, how that affects economic development in this entire region. In the old days, it used to be we either had economic development or we had clean air and we had mitigation or we had jobs for our young people. You're going to do it all. You're going to do it all. You're going to modernize a world-class airport, and you are going to really keep intact this incredible community benefits agreement to make sure that what we do doesn't only improve infrastructure, but clearly this is going to improve air quality. This is going to improve the quality of life, not only for the residents that live around LAX, but really I see this as a great cornerstone of improving people's lives all over the city of Los Angeles. You have a tall order ahead of you. We're your partners in this, but I really have confidence in what I've seen so far that you're going to be able to accomplish this. So carry on.
Carry on. Good job.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Hahn. Nobody else wishes to be heard. We can go ahead and open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
14 ayes.
Thank you for the information. We appreciate it. And that will move forward. Next item, please.
Item 32, called special by Councilmember Hahn.
Okay, Ms. Hahn, item number 32 is before us.
Janice.
Ms. Hahn, item 32.
32.
The DOT parking lots.
Right. Thank you, Council President and colleagues. This ordinance came to me from one of my staff members in my field district office in San Pedro, Cindy Fowler. We continue to get complaints from our constituents, and you probably have too, about the condition of DOT-owned parking lots. They were always had weeds growing, they were always dirty, they were always kind of crummy places that you wanted to park just by nature of their very appearance. And apparently in the city, our DOT-owned lots had actually given the maintenance over to street services, and we actually apparently had some line items in our budget that gave street services the money to clean the DOT parking lots all over the city of Los Angeles. That money was taken away, and so our lots kind of fell in great disrepair. Some of them really looked blighted almost because of their condition. So it was an idea from Cindy, who thought, why don't we enter an agreement between DOT and Recreation and Parks to keep our parking lots looking good. A lot of them have shrubbery, have vegetation. So why don't we let Recreation and Parks keep our parking lots looking good, looking nice, not such a blighted eyesore in some of the best places in our district. So that's what this does. This ordinance will transfer the responsibility to Recreation and Parks. They've entered into an MOU with DOT to clean all of the lots. I think our public will notice a huge difference in the litter, the trash, and really some of the blighted conditions of our parking lot. So I think this was a good idea. I want to give a shout out to Cindy Fowler for not just continuing to solve people's problems, but thinking, hey, in the long run, why don't we change the way we do this in the city to benefit the public? So I think this is a good idea. I don't know if we have, you guys want to come up and speak to this? Good idea, don't you think?
Very good idea. Yeah, Martin Bland, Department of Transportation.
Cindy Fowler, she's my old.
Ramon Morales from Recreation and Parks.
And just to say that we are just getting ready to integrate this plan. Right now, we don't have any ability to do the landscaping, so Rec and Parks is gearing up to help us with that.
Which is their forte.
We're going to start the hiring process next week. So after we select the staff, then after they go through their training and then process through human resources personnel downtown, then we should be able to start right away.
Good, and again, I think it's the right fit. It makes sense. That's sort of your core mission in Recreation and Parks, landscaping and keeping some of our facilities looking good. So this makes a lot of sense, and I think it's a great agreement. And again, I think the public is going to notice a difference right away in terms of the appearance of our parking lots.
Mr. Labange.
Thank you very much, Ms. Hahn. What a great job that Cindy did at your office. Someone who came up with an idea, and I think it's so important. I speak quickly because I know I just wanted to rise to thank Recreation and Parks. We need to give them support because it's not just this, LADOT, but it's also our public libraries, other public buildings, and the beautiful job they do here at City Hall. So I think it's real important that we understand we got to fund this, and thank the Department of Transportation for making this connection through Ms. Hahn. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Labange. With that, let's go ahead and open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
14 ayes.
That is approved. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Next item, please.
Item 44, called special by Councilmember Reyes.
Mr. Reyes.
Yes, I wanted to, thank both Councilmember Zine and Councilmember Garcetti for being there. I was in the League of Cities when we actually were able to acknowledge Mr. Langers and for their historic participation, the involvement of this great city. You know, coming back from Israel, when you look at how it is that our great diversity adds up to creating a metropolis like we have, it's because of the heroes like Mr. Langer, who was able to sustain cycles of evolvement, both good and bad, and after many decades still be present on that corner, on that intersection, and actually celebrate the greatness of our city because we have a Langer's on a corner in which you can have the type of foods that gives us a sense of familiarity with all that is diverse in the city. So I just wanted to rise to celebrate that particular location, that icon, and I want to thank my colleagues for their support and thank Councilmember Zine and Councilmember Garcetti for being part of those ceremonies. And I encourage an aye vote. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And thank you for your great staff work. Your office made a very special occasion that day, and I know that you were well remembered, and it was pulled off without a hitch, and the entire Langers family was very appreciative, so congratulations. So with that, in honor of the best pastrami in the world, let's open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
14 ayes.
That is approved. We'll send that forthwith on rye with a little bit of mustard on that. Thank you. I'll be here all year. After that, next item, please.
Item 45 is called special for cards from the public, and there is an amending motion on item 45H.
Okay. Has that been circulated?
That it has.
Okay. We'll take our public comments. Zuma Dog is our first speaker here in council chambers. I think he is gone. We'll go out to Van Nuys. Sharon Brewer will be our first speaker. Miriam Fogler after that. Ms. Brewer?
Sharon Brewer, number 45, special events. We have 66 total today, 58 with amounts totaling $273,338. We have 1 no amount, 7 reimbursed. We have 32 of the special events on today's agenda, going all the way back to August 18th, that have already happened for a total of $69,844. I refer to Council File 052467, clock's not moving, S1, that goes and talks about that special event motions need to be approved by the council prior to the date of each event for liability reasons. Approved motions trigger the city's liability insurance coverage for the events and provide authorization for the street closures, temporary parking restrictions, and related actions associated with the special event. We have 4 events that are USC fee waivers totaling $7,000. We have H, which I understand has an amendment, which is $25,000 for a Nike run. I don't know, did Nike file bankruptcy? We have HH, which is $64,240 for a Korean parade. We have two $500 for Dodger games. AAA, we have on 10-4, no amount for the Southland Regional Association of Realtors Annual Multicultural Mixer. Realtors need a fee waiver. LL, we have the Blessing of the Bikes for 1942. So far, with July, August, and 1 day in September, you are over $1,044,106.82 plus. With USC, we have, for 3 months, $83,778 that have been waived. Something has to be done about these fee waivers. The city controller said you need to tighten your belts. It seems like you're doing the opposite. And I don't know how much time I've got because the clock's not running. Any idea?
It just rang, but if you want to take another 5 seconds.
Okay, no, that's okay. I'm sure
Sorry about that with the technical
that's
difficulties.
fine. I'm sure that I got my point. Over $1 million and only 14 days of city council so far in the fiscal year.
Okay, Miriam
Thank
Fogler is
you.
our next speaker. Thank you, Ms. Brewer. Miriam Fogler is next, and then we'll go to Matt Dowd here in Chambers.
Yeah, I'll watch my time too, because I don't want to. I realize we have meetings to conduct. I don't want to stay here all day, but
I'll let you know when you're at a minute.
saying, well, I have 2 minutes.
No, I'll let you know when there's 1 minute gone. So go ahead.
Well, there's not 1 minute.
I'm sorry. I was trying to do you a favor, Ms. Fogler, and let you know when 1 minute is elapsed. Go ahead.
Well, no, there's not 1 minute hasn't lapsed. Okay, I'm just saying the LA Orchestra, the LA Symphony, the Van Nuys, they were here Friday. They need to be funded, and the Cultural Arts Department should be using the old Van Nuys Library, not using these special events that you're spending $1.1 million. This is absolutely absurd and ridiculous that you're doing this to our folks here, and we're you want to raise the water rates and everything for inflation and all that. What a gall you got, a chutzpah that you got to do that, a gall to do such a thing. We need the money for the Van Nuys Orchestra now.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Matt Dowd here in Council Chambers. Not, okay. Donna Pearman out in Van Nuys. And again, you do have 2 minutes. I'll let you know when a minute is elapsed to help you know because the clock's not working.
Okay.
Go ahead, Ms. Pearman.
Okay. Yeah, hi. Yeah, this is Donna Perriman. Again, I see they've been very busy while you were on vacation, setting up all these events, and I think it's terrible. You can't have anything that it costs $64,000 for the city, and I mean that's way too much money, and especially when this CRA is taking all our money and putting all their projects up. Basic what we should do is just take it from them, and then it wouldn't cost the city anything. And I think that the people who are involved in these events should be paying more for these things, because I'm not going to be going to the Korean parade, and I'm not going to be going for these USC, and I didn't even go to USC. So that's all I wanted to say is you got to cut down on these special events. Otherwise, maybe you should pay it out of your own pocket, because since you love to spend all your money. Bye.
Thank you. Mr. Parks?
I just want to, we submitted a amending motion for 45H, and it's been circulated.
Thank you.
And Mr. President, there has been a request to continue 45 MMM and NNN to tomorrow.
There's no objection to that. And as was noted before, 45DD we will note and file. And as amended on 45H and the rest, if we can please open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
14 ayes.
That is approved. Next item, please.
Item 47, called special for cards from the public.
Okay, item 47 is next. Zuma Dog is still not with us. Miriam Fogler on item 47 out in Van Nuys. And Sharon Brewer will be next.
Okay. Yeah, I wanted to tell you that this LAUSD, you got to let me know. Oh, you're working. That they have no right to take money from our budget. When they have their budget set, they should be using their money, not taking from our money. And because we're on a budget, we all have to follow budgets, and this is not right what they're doing. And you're not right to letting them do this. You must vote no on this, not pass it, not pass any of these special events, nothing. And especially because the LA Van Nuys Symphony here with Sarah Fisk, she's trying to get off the ground. We need a Mid-Valley Symphony here. We got the old Van Nuys Library, and we could be using that instead of having it being all these properties that the city has, we can be using that for the money that you're using special events. We can be utilizing the properties for the good of the public, for helping us with the different services and all kinds of things, helping the homeless and things, whatever it comes to you, that would be the most feasible, practical thing to use the vacant properties, because I saw in the paper in the Daily News that we have a lot of properties available, and we could use that special events money that we're using for this. This is stupid, ludicrous stuff that you're doing. Waste of our money, and you're taking a chance of us being sued. So please don't do this. Vote no. Thank you.
Sharon Brewer?
Sharon Brewer on actually it's 47 and 48 since they're LAUSD. Between the two, it's $17,241.88. LAUSD has their own budget. They need to use their own money. That's my main comment. The other thing is, on amending motions, like there was an amendment to 45H, I think that the amendments should be done verbally, because I'm in Van Nuys and I don't know what the amendment was, and it just should be done so that it's on the record. But again, they need to stop waiving fees for LAUSD. They have their own money. Let them take it out of their own budget. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you for the suggestion. We'll try to figure out a way that we may be able to fax out there if it's long, or if we can just read it if it's short orally. With that, let's go ahead and open the roll on 47, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
14 ayes.
That is approved. Next item, please.
Item 48, called special for cards from the public.
Okay, item 48, Miriam Fogler, and then Sharon Brewer.
Yes, I know. I just spoke on this, but we need to, you people not voting the right way. You need to vote no on these special events. It's costing us a lot of money, folks. And the voters out there should be listening to this. They should be voting these people out of office. Thank you.
Sharon Brewer.
I did it with 47. Thank you.
Sorry? Are you done?
I spoke on both of them on 47.
Okay, great. Thank you, Ms. Brewer.
Thank you.
That'll close public comment on 48. If we can go ahead and open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
14 ayes.
That is approved. The next item, please.
Item 49, called special for cards from the public.
Okay, Miriam Fogler on 49. You have 1 minute remaining of public comment.
Well, I just want to be brief. Again, this is a special event. And like I said, we need to earmark for special things only for the city, public money only for public services, not for nonprofits and privatization, because it's like you're mixing in church and state, the same thing. You can't mix both with two. And that's why we can show accountability, and it's not going through the cracks, and people don't see that. Okay, so you need to stop these kind of things, these charade, these what do you call pork barrels? What the Congress does, you're doing the same thing here. So this needs to stop. Van Nuys Symphony needs the orchestra there, and the library. We need to utilize that with the special events money. Thank you.
Thank you. That will close public comment. If we can please open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
14 ayes.
That is approved. Next item, please.
Items 52, 53, and 54 were called special by Councilmember Weezer.
Okay. Before we do that, if we can reconsider item 34, Mr. Reyes has asked for reconsideration of 34. Please open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
14 ayes.
That is back before us, and Mr. Reyes has asked for a continuance till September 18th. If there's no objection, that will be continued 1 week till September 18th. Thank you. And why don't we hold on the desk the items Mr. Weezer has called special, and go to the last item, please.
Item 70 was called special for cards from the public.
All right, we have item 70. Just one card. Mr. Dog is not here, so we will go ahead and close the public comment on that and go ahead and open the roll. I'm sorry, Mr. Clerk? Okay. Madam Clerk, if you'd like to open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
14 ayes.
Okay, that is approved. And that returns us to the items called special by Mr. Weezer.
Mr. President, there is a special one.
Okay, let's go ahead and take that while we're waiting. To the findings, Mr. City Attorney?
Yes. Yes, Mr. President. I'll recite the facts as presented to me by the maker of the motion for the council's consideration of the adequacy of the findings. During the recent council recess, the city was informed of the impending September 15th decision by the IWF to name the host city for the 2011 World Weightlifting Championships. Immediate action is required for council to express its support for being awarded as a host city on September 15th. Council must first make findings pursuant to Government Code Section 54954.2 before considering the substantive motion.
On the findings, anybody wishing to be heard? If not, please open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
14 ayes.
That is now before us. Mr. Parks?
We're asking that this be handled as a special today because we're just advised by the LA Olympic Committee that they're making an effort to get the International Weightlifting Federation event here in Los Angeles, and they need our city support on their proposal by September the 15th. This event is scheduled to be held in the fall or in October or November of 2011, but it's a vital part of the proposal is that the city is in support of this effort. And so because of the late notice and the timeliness of our city's effort and proposal, we're moving this forward today and ask that with that circumstance that we vote on it today as a Rule 23.
Okay, thank you. Let's open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
14 ayes.
That is approved. Next items, please.
Mr. President, item 24 was being held on the desk. Do you wish to take that up?
Yeah, let's go ahead, and with the concurrence of the Chair of HCD, we're going to go ahead and move that. So go ahead and open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
14 ayes.
That is approved. Next item, please.
Items 52, 53, and 54 were called special by Councilmember Weezer.
Okay, Mr. Weezer?
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to take these items all up together, 52, 53, and 54. These items involved reward motions for any information leading to the arrest of some unsolved murders in Boa Heights. We wanted to take every avenue possible to publicize these rewards. The families, as you may imagine, are still in mourning and have asked the council, have asked my office as well, to do anything and all possible to give them a sense of relief, give them a sense of justice, to bring these people to justice. And I wanted just to reiterate some of the facts of these three reward motions so that anybody watching this on Channel 35 or anyone else could contact your local police department if, in fact, you have any information. The first regards a young man by the name of Michael Flores, who was fatally shot while standing on the sidewalk in front of the 200 block of South Chicago Street. This happened on March 24th, 2007. On June 16th, 2007, 26-year-old Augusto Zapata was fatally shot while standing on the street in front of 1019 South Spence Street. And on July 1st, 19-year-old George Rodriguez was shot while standing in the street in front of 1132 Camulo Street. Again, each one of these incidents involve a $50,000 reward for anybody who could give us information that would lead to the arrest and conviction of whoever caused these senseless murders and took the lives of these young people too early from all of us. So thank you, Council President. I want to thank Councilmember Weiss and LAPD Chief Deputy Diaz, who helped publicize these rewards last week in a press conference. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Huizar. And with that, let's go ahead and open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
14 ayes.
That is approved. Next order of business, please.
Council has motions for posting and referral.
Those are posted and referred.
There are excuses on the desk. Councilmember Cardis requests to be excused to leave at noon on Wednesday, September 12th for city business that meets council policy.
Mr. Cardenas is excused.
Councilmember Gruhl requests to be excused to leave at 11:45 on Friday, September 14th for city business that meets council policy.
She's excused as well.
Councilmember Weiss requests to be excused Friday, September 14th for personal business that meets council policy.
Mr. Weiss is excused.
Councilmember Rosendahl requests to be excused to leave at 12:30 on Wednesday, September 12th for city business that meets council policy.
Mr. Rosendahl is excused.
Councilmember Parks requests to be excused Friday, September 14th for city business that meets council policy.
Mr. Parks is excused.
And Councilmember Huizar requests to be excused to leave at noon on Friday, September 14th for city business. A motion is required.
All right, I will move that. Ms. Perry seconds, and that is granted.
That clears the desk.
Okay. Colleagues, any announcements?
Real quick, I returned from our sister city of Berlin, led a delegation there. Berlin sends its regards. We celebrated our 40th anniversary there, and a very successful mission.
Thank you very much, and thank you for representing all of us. Mr. Labange, any other announcements, business nature? If not, can I ask everybody please rise for adjourning motions? Colleagues, again, reiterate that we adjourn in memory of the 2,750 people who died 6 years ago in this nation as we commemorate how far and how long it's been, but it seems like yesterday here in the United States, and certainly the connections to Los Angeles of those planes that were flying here, of our fellow residents who were victims on those planes that day, and for the entire nation as well. I also ask that we adjourn today in memory of Dorothy Gwendolyn Miller, a resident of Ms. Rosendahl's district, who I had the privilege of attending a memorial service for before our break. She was a lifetime Los Angeles resident, neither a social nor a political figure, but a generous and loving wife, mother, and friend, a much more durable accomplishment. She graduated from Belmont High School and then from UCLA, and later married Burton Scott Miller, a prominent Los Angeles attorney who preceded her in death. She leaves 2 children, Brett and Lance Miller, both of Los Angeles, 5 granddaughters, and 6 great-grandchildren. She led a socially active life and participated in local charities, including her children's PTA, the John Tracy Clinic, and the UCLA Arts Council. And she left us just after midnight on Friday, August 10th, surrounded by her sons, granddaughters, and a number of her great-grandchildren, each of them holding her as she left this world. I want to echo here a statement made at her memorial that Sunday when she was said to be the most benign and gentle of winds that blow through our lives. She was a loving presence for a very full 98 and a half years, and her passing represents a significant loss to our whole community. She will be missed. May she rest in peace. Ms. Hahn?
I'd like us to adjourn in memory of, she was just 14 months old, and her name is Mia Benavides, and she was hit by a car while walking with her mother, her sister, and her 5-year-old brother in San Pedro on Sunday evening. Her 5-year-old brother, Flavio, was also injured, but he's been released from the hospital and is back home. She's survived by her parents, Michelle and Edward, her sister, Alyssa, and her brother, Flavio. The funeral services are pending. It's certainly a very tragic accident to have happened to this family.
Thank you, Ms. Hahn. Mr. Huizar.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. It saddens me today to adjourn in the memory of Dr. Cam Yi Pang, the aunt of my staff member Samantha Yu. Dr. Yi Pang passed away a few weeks ago at the age of 64 of heart failure. She was born in Guangzhou, China, and graduated from Chinese University in Hong Kong. She immigrated with her family to the United States in the late 1960s, where she went on to earn a PhD in chemistry from the University of Pittsburgh and completed her research work at Harvard Medical School in Massachusetts General Hospital in Boston. In 1987, Dr. Yi Pang founded EMAX Laboratories Incorporated, an environmental laboratory service for government, state, and local agencies. She continues as its president and the laboratory director. She has been a loving and tireless supporter of her entire family. She is survived by her mother, Sing Si Pang, her husband, her son Casper, and 4 brothers and sisters. She will be missed by all who knew her, and we wish my staff member Samantha Yu our condolences.
Thank you, Mr. Huizar. Mr. Labange.
Yes, I'd like to ask for the adjourned in memory of Paul Boland, the appellate justice who guided many law students in the wise ways of developing innovative programs and a great justice for the state. Also, I'd like to ask we adjourn in memory of Pavarotti, Luciano Pavarotti, the great opera singer who thrilled people throughout all members. Jane Wyman, who lived to be 90 years old and a great actress, really a great actress and a very devout person. I ask we adjourn in her memory. Anthony Day, who was the great editorial page editor over at the Los Angeles Times, lived to be 74. I ask we adjourn in his memory. And finally, I ask we adjourn in memory of Robert Amundsen, who lived to be 80 years old. And you know, the Amundsen Training Facility, the Amundsen Equestrian Center, the Amundsen Theater. Bob Amundsen, who was born in Omaha, Nebraska, who was buried there in Omaha, loved Los Angeles, loved its city, loved its civic programs, and did a tremendous job. Was the first gift to the Griffith Observatory of $4.2 million, and said, Tom, if you need a little more, let me know. And he was a tremendous man who gave to many things throughout the community. Robert Amundsen, who left this world at 80 years old.
Thank you very much, Mr. Labange. Mr. Reyes, and then Mr. Rosendahl.
Thank you, Council President. I'd like to adjourn in the memory of Mario A. Muniz, the brother of Ramon Muniz, who was a commissioner with our Education Commission. Muniz passed away on August 28, 2007 from a rare form of cancer. Mario Albert Muniz was born on June 8, 1957 in Ciudad Juarez, Chihuahua, Mexico, raised in Los Angeles. Mario attended Franklin High School, where he excelled as a student and basketball player. He earned his bachelor's degree in Chicano Studies and teaching credential from Cal State Northridge, and his master's degree in bilingual education from Cal State Sacramento. Here in Southern California, Mario served as a social studies teacher and soccer coach at Pioneer High School in Whittier. As a first-time soccer coach, he took his team to the CIF Championship in 2 seasons and was selected as the Coach of the Year. He's also Director of Operation Chicano Teacher at Cal State Northridge, charged with increasing the number of students entering the educational field. He devoted endless hours to recruiting and mentoring university students as they pursue their Bachelor's of Arts degree and teaching credentials. During his tenure at the university, he guided, encouraged, and motivated hundreds of students as they prepared themselves academically for the teaching profession. Mario also served as the California Department of Education in Sacramento for 25 years as administrator with the Child Development Division and as the director of the Office of External Affairs for the State Superintendent of Public Instruction, Bill Honig. Here in Southern California, he devoted his time to creating preschool opportunities for children in the underserved communities. As a direct result of Mario's dedication and efforts, hundreds of children are participating in quality preschool programs. Mario was also instrumental in establishing the Muniz Family Foundation, dedicated to provide college scholarships. Currently in its 5th year of existence, the foundation has provided over $75,000 worth of scholarship awards. Mario leaves his wife, Blanca, children Mario Jr., Diana, Gustavo, Bianca, and his 2 grandchildren, Pete and Natalia. In lieu of flowers to the family, they have asked that a donation be made to the Muniz Family Foundation Scholarship Fund, 700 North Huntington Street, San Fernando, California, 91340. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Alarcon. I think wanted to add something.
Yes, I'm very saddened to hear about Mario. You all know that I've been busy with other personal obligations, and I was not aware that Mario passed away. Mario and I went to Cal State Northridge together. I, in fact, was in the same Operation Chicano Teacher program with Mario, and have known him for all these years through every single accomplishment that you just delineated. He continued to the end to give to the community. We just participated in a fundraiser for the Family Foundation just a few months ago, and I can tell you that beyond the words on the paper, this was a genuinely good person, good in all respects in terms of dedication to family, dedication to his community, dedicated to what is positive in life, always had a great attitude, and even when he was in the midst of a political job, he portrayed his demeanor with such a plum as to represent the best of political figures. And I can tell you that we will all sorely miss this role model for Los Angeles, and we will continue to preserve his legacy through the Muniz Family Foundation, which is doing great things, as Mr. Reyes expressed. So I am very sad in knowing that Mario passed away, and I had looked to him to learn about issues of education, as well as, more importantly, issues of leadership and how to be a good citizen in the community. He's a great man, and I'm going to miss him personally.
I agree with you. The Muniz family, they have achieved incredible accomplishments growing up in Cypress Park, an impoverished area, an area where most of the kids don't graduate, than 50% graduation rate. And for him to reach the heights that he has reached, but dedicate his life to the children that way he has, he will be truly missed. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Rosendahl.
Yes, Madam President. As we all know, standing around the horseshoe, that all we have is the moment. And we're reminded more of this when we adjourn motions. And I have three folks who have passed on while we were on recess. First is Philomene Long. You might have remembered the day I was sworn in here on the council floor. She came and read poetry that she had done at my inauguration. She was an inspiration. She was only 67, and she died on August 21st at her home near the Venice Beach. She's a poet, a teacher, and a filmmaker. She left behind her sister Peggy and her children Maureen and Patrick and grandchildren Adden and Tara. She spent over 16 years as a faculty of writers program at UCLA Extension School, teaching courses such as creative process on poetry for non-poets. It was Philomene's love for the bohemian lifestyle of Venice, combined with her passionate commitment to showing how the arts serve to nourish the roots of our culture, that made her a symbol for true spirit of the Venice community. Often she would be seen on Oceanfront Walk in her tennis shoes, black thrift shop dresses, long straight hair, alarm clock pendant, and a heavy silver cross. Philomene was a welcome reminder that art is a form of open and honest expression, a form of truth. Her dedication to preserving the culture and character of Venice is what led her to often open small apartment near the beach for gatherings of writers, musicians, and artists. It is for this reason that Philomene's commitment to the culture of Venice and to the beauty and grace she saw in all of its residents that I asked we adjourn in her memory. In fact, when we did the Venice sign the other day, she jumped on the stage and I hugged her, and she was just full of life. And we all have just the moment. Teddy Winograd passed away. She was 87. In fact, the week before she died, Dennis Kucinich was at her family home in Beverly Hills, and it was fitting that as she was moving on, this kind of activism that she believed in all of her life was being expressed downstairs by Dennis Kucinich. She left behind a brother Ron, her children Barry and Marcy, and Marcy's been very active in community affairs. We all know her, and her grandchildren Ben, Gina, and Rachel. Teddy was a mother to any and all and everyone who embraced peace as a means rather than an end. She was a drum major for justice, a lightning rod for equal rights. Through her personal life witnessed many chapters of personal tragedy. Not one page was a line of bitterness. She maintained a sense of positive self-awareness, radiated such to all those who were involved with her. It is for this reason, dignity, her respect for others, her infectious enthusiasm, and her never-waning mission to see a world of peace that we adjourn in her honor. That's Teddy Winograd. And the third one is Steve Kane. Steve Kane was just a young guy at 54 years old, and you know, He passed away on Friday the 31st in the aftermath of a stroke. At 54, he had been an active member in our community in Westchester, St. Ignatius Church. He was a good citizen who worked tirelessly to research and negotiate with the developers of West Bluff to mitigate impacts of the new development on existing residents. By analyzing the project's EIR, Steve offered his expertise and insight that allowed the community to mitigate traffic, setbacks, and building height. To top it all off, he was also instrumental in getting 3 pocket parks and a hiking trail that will allow the community and its guests to continue to enjoy the beautiful bluff-top view of the city and the coast. He was a good citizen, but also a generous and devoted family man. Steve is survived by his wife, Elaine, their 2 children, Christopher and Jennifer. Our hearts and prayers are with Steve's family and friends today. We share in their grief and sorrow for their loss. We pause to pay tribute to Steve Kane by introducing this adjourning motion. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you. Mr. Smith.
Thank you, Madam President. Ask the Council to adjourn memory of Soon Oak Lee. Soon Oak Lee was the grandmother of my planning deputy in the district office, Hannah Lee. She was born in 1913 in Korea, moved to Los Angeles in 1975. Became a very proud U.S. citizen in 1996 and was a resident of the 12th District since 2002. She was an extremely gentle woman, very giving and humble person. She always wanted to help others in need and was a great cook, as I was told. She enjoyed cooking meals for her friends and family and loved reading the Bible to her family. She's survived by her 2 sons, a daughter, and 7 grandchildren, and we fondly remember by all those who knew her. May she rest in peace.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Any other adjourning motions? If not, Mr. Clerk, please call the roll. This meeting is now adjourned.